kind of, it's hard for me to sit down and, you know, write a reference letter on myself because it's looked at by our society as egotistical and self-centered.
Right.
And so that's something that's very hard to get into. That's one of the biggest challenges I found in this course is all of the writing about ourselves. And I mean, I realize it's supposed to help us like dig into us and what really makes us up, but like we said, it's awkward.
It's supposed to make you stand outside of yourself
Yeah.
and say, who is this person? And based on these questions or these challenges,
But how do you
am
do
I good with management? Am I
doing
good
it
with other
without
people?
being biased is hard though. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know my strong points and I know my weak points, but do you see them the same way I see them? You know,
Almost
and I tend
certainly
to be
not.
a bit more biased, you know.
Nothing wrong with that. What we all have to do, one of the things we know is, you know, did we in this class discuss the article on branding, your personal brand?
That's what we're
Yeah.
discussing tonight.
Good. And this article was written by the president of Ogilvy and Mather, one of the biggest advertising companies in the country. When you talk about branding, every company, every product almost has its own brand persona or brand image. If I say Coca-Cola, what is their brand? Describe that to me. What are the images or feelings that are connoted when you hear the term Coca-Cola? I think young people having fun, drinking Coca-Cola because they're thirsty, but they're laughing.
Oh, see, I thought Santa Claus in red.
Santa
Polar
Claus
bears.
That's okay.
Belonging to the group.
Belonging to a group,
Yeah.
good,
Happy.
good, okay. If I said Mercedes-Benz, what's the brand image that comes to mind for you?
Status.
Classy.
Status, classy,
Expensive.
fairly wealthy,
Successful.
successful.
Hard mind business.
Hardline business, okay,
Humor.
or inherited it, you know.
Lack of humor.
Lack of humor, oh, okay.
Like the ultimate German stereotype of someone who sits there and never laughs at a board meeting or something. Just,
Okay. Let me ask you this. Brand image, Santa Fe College.
Top 10.
College?
Ooh,
top 10.
Top 10 school, what else?
I think of the Saints, the motto.
Anything else?
I mean, I think
If someone were to ask you about Santa Fe,
education for anyone and everyone. I mean, I really feel like anybody can come to Santa Fe. They don't have to be the best of the best, but you know, they're accepted.
okay,
So that's just
They're going to get an education.
yeah.
okay.
They don't.
They know that we're here, we come to class, we do our assignments because we know we're going to get the education that we need. And
Do
we
you-
count on that.
Do you see a different brand when you think of just the BAS programs or the OM program?
Yeah.
Does the OM program have a brand image in your mind?
Professional.
Yes, because
it's a professional bachelor's degree. It's not necessarily a general, you know, everyday, you would have University of Florida bachelor's degree, where I wanna go get a psych degree, I wanna go get a bachelor's degree from University of Florida because I went to University of Florida. And
Hence the term applied.
It's not practical. Here it is, it's a practical bachelor's degree, it's usable, you can walk out, you can use the information and
Okay.
the skills.
Anybody else? Another part of that brand image for the OM program in particular, I'm curious. Anything come to mind?
With Santa Fe, it's a good learning environment to me. I mean,
Why?
It's more one-on-one, face-to-face.
Smaller classes,
Yeah.
more personal, okay. The other part of that brand image that comes to my mind is our average student is about 34 years old. This is not a traditional 18-year-old freshman incoming with no world experiences. Okay. Do you have your own brand image?
Good question.
How do you think other people brand you, think of you, either when you're there or when you're coming in or when you're not there and they're talking about you? Do we each have a brand image?
Is that like a reputation?
Very, very similar, but it's more than just, see, reputation is frequently based on what have you done or what can you do. This encompasses also, who are you? What are your values? What is your appearance and character and conduct? How do you conduct yourselves? When you walk into a room, are you the happy-go-lucky laughing and making jokes? Are you the absolutely dead serious, we're here for business? Are you, what is your brand image? And I guarantee you, you all have one, well have one. It may well be that what I think is my brand image is not what you see. Absolutely. But the article is talking about, should you have a brand image and should you cultivate a brand image? And my argument is that you have no choice. Everything you do and everything you say is going to become a part of who you are insofar as it is experienced by the people around you. And if you're not cognizant of that, and you do stupid things like going to a company party and getting drunk or hitting on the boss's wife, okay? If you don't pay attention to your appearance, if you are never punctual for meetings you're supposed to be at, if you are, socially maladroit, you familiar with that term? You commit faux pas. Familiar with that term? You say things that maybe you shouldn't have said. You do things maybe you shouldn't have done. Okay? If you're not aware of that, your brand image is starting to work against you. If you are aware of the idea of a brand image, hopefully that means you pay more attention to. I mean, do you think if you were an executive fairly up in a well-reputed company, do you think when you go down to your local grocery store, your appearance has any bearing on how you perceive or who you are?
Yes.
Absolutely. And if you say you're out there working in the yard and you're all hot and sweaty and look like a slob, and you say, well, I'm going to run down to Publix and pick up some fried chicken, do you understand what you're doing? If you, in that environment, frequently run into people you know, subordinates, peers, or influentials above you.
Well, that is also determined by the size of the community that you are working in.
The size of the community, but
The
also the
smaller
trading
the
area of
community.
the places you go.
Mhm.
Where does their business come from?
Except
Absolutely.
for
Right.
Facebook. Except for Facebook.
Well, if you're on Facebook, and I personally think there's an advantage to being on Facebook, as long as you control what's there.
So
And
that's
when
the
you
key.
post stupid things, we have a word for that in economics called stupid. You know? So the point of the article was, what is your brand image? Think about it, and this goes back to some of the assignments we've made during the term, making you look at yourself. And maybe looking at others, like, who was your worst boss? Well, think about it. What was that person's brand image? And once you create a persona, a reputation, a brand image in a company, in a job, it's very, very difficult to change it. The other good news is, if you're in a job and you know you're not doing well and you're not getting the respect you think you deserve, etc., then when you make the move, don't just make a physical move. Make a mental move. I'm going to clean up the image. Here we go. So that was the point of the article. Any other feedback, comments?
It was actually inspiring because it was written by a female CEO
Mhm.
who,
Came up through the ranks.
right, she was blunt, but she did it with charm.
She used, was this the phrase? Yes, it was her article that used the phrase, it's not what you do.
Mhm.
What is it? It's how you do it. And I was delighted to find that phrase in there. I've been using that for 2 years in this program. How you do things is what really is going to have an impact on your brand image. You can do something very, very well, but if you're a jerk is a jerk by any other color.
Yeah.
And there's your brand. And if you have a brand image, what else comes from that? The answer is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. People look at you, and if you've got this spiffed up image and this great reputation, and you're always got it together, bien dans sa peau, remember that phrase? What's that mean? Bien dans sa peau.
Comfortable with yourself.
Comfortable within your skin. You're comfortable with who you are. If that is true of you as you go through your daily routines on the job, when you are either being talked about in consideration for a project or when you're assigned to a project, what are the expectations? If you have a very positive image, there are very positive expectations. And when we have positive expectations of someone, what tends to happen?
They rise to them.
We tend to interpret their behaviors consistent with what we expect of them, even if they fall a little short. we tend to make excuses for them maybe. On the other hand, if you've got a very poor brand image and you're given an assignment, what are the expectations?
None.
You'll probably satisfice on this. You'll probably do this as, you know, the minimum necessary. And even if you do better than that, what's going to happen?
They're still not gonna get the praise.
They're
because
still
you
going to be
haven't kept
expected
up
to
the
be
reputation.
mediocre, and they're going to judge it a priori mediocre, and so you're struggling uphill. So it all becomes a continuous, a virtuous circle, if you will. Keep up the brand image, keep up the expectations, et cetera, et cetera.
Can they break that image? Say he did a good job that time, would that then start the?
I would say that you'd have to do that 3 or 4 times. And of course, the other thing to remember too, and it's a very difficult road to walk, we're not just judged by what did we do, or even how we did it. We're also judged by what kind of person are you? You know, when you're there in the work environment, what's the culture like? Are you in a job that allows you the free time to be able to sit down and socialize once in a while with some of your subordinates or your boss? You know, can you go to your boss's office without invitation, just say, you know, hey Jim, can I stop by and chat with you for a minute? Sure. You go by, he's got a pot of coffee, says if you want a cup of coffee, get one, you get a cup of coffee, you sit down, and you just chat for 15 or 30 minutes. Are you in that environment? And if in that process you're also able to chat with the boss's secretary, or 1 or 2 of the other people that are close by, your persona is coming out and being developed right there, whether you like it or not. So how are you in that setting? Are you the kind of person that when they say, we had somebody cancel out on this committee, are you free to be able to take it up? What's your response? Your response hopefully is sure, but how did you respond? You know, you make a joke out of it and say, sure, I'm always ready, no problem. Or, yeah, I can put some other stuff off, I can do that. Instead, you know, if it's yeah, I guess I can if you can't find anybody else. Wrong, Moose Breath. Wrong answer. So it's all part of the whole. Who are you? Unfortunately, too, I can go on forever on this stuff. Unfortunately, too many of our bosses do not counsel and mentor us about this sort of thing. If you're doing things wrong, often they sandbag on you. You know what that means, sandbag? They don't tell you a damn thing until it's too late to do anything about it. It's time for your evaluation or whatever else. I don't think
Too many people are afraid of offending somebody.
it's a lack of personal courage to sit down and say, let me talk to you very honestly about a couple of things I'm concerned about. You have to be able to do that tactfully. Very little of that occurs in the workplace, in any type of business. And so if you're not monitoring your own brand, nobody else is telling you about it. And you can really go down in flames by doing that.